Welcome to Chucky MTG. Today we're going to talk about a different type of MTG Commander gameplay. It's the one that I play 99% of the time, and the more I play it, the more I come to feel like, man, this is the way to play Magic. Um, and that is a three-player game. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why three-player games in Commander are so great. When it comes to Commander, the number of players can drastically change just the feel of the game. One of the biggest advantages of playing with three players instead of four is just the game pace. The game runs faster. With uh, Obviously, with one less person at the table, making decisions, there's less waiting around in general. The pace picks up. And that means that you're just involved more frequently. It's your turn again faster. And you feel more engaged in the game. Everyone gets a quicker chances and more chances to act, at least it feels that way. And it just makes the entire game experience just feel more exciting. But it's not all just about the speed of the game. The dynamics of three players also makes the decision making process easier. In a three-player game, you only have two other players to evaluate, so the decisions feel more straightforward. If you've already decided who's the bigger threat, it's much simpler to take action. In a four-player game, it's often harder, if not impossible, to tell who to target because there's just so many threats on the board, and maybe someone who's ramping up resources or a player that just has, seven cards in hand, you have to wonder, even with them, even with no board presence, if I let that player who's just been ramping sit there, if I let that player who has a full hand sit there, if I don't take care of them, there'll be a problem later. Like, sure, this one's dealing a lot of damage, this one has a board presence, but you have to always consider the threats not seen. In a three-player game, those decisions are just far more direct. You're not trying to juggle multiple threats like you are in a four-player game. It's just a 50-50 choice on who to focus on. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, but makes the decision making so much easier. Now, there's something to be said about how three-player games forces you to be more aggressive. With fewer players, there's nowhere to hide. In a four-player game, you can sometimes kind of like sit back and let other players fight it out. You can play cards that make people do that. In a three-player game, if you're slow to act, if you're slow to the board, you can quickly fall behind, like so fast. Uh, Example: if your commander has a high converted mana cost, if I go five, that's high for me, because even if your commander takes 3 or 4 turns to get onto the battlefield, you're going to be at a serious disadvantage. You don't have the luxury of waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Um, you'll be way too far behind to have a perfect moment. Um, that's another reason I like three-player games is it makes aggro decks more viable. They can take advantage of the smaller life totals and speed up the gameplay. You don't have to worry about waiting for the long game to unfold when you can just get in there early and make things happen. At the same time, attacking becomes more viable in general in the three-player game. There's less of a risk of your opponents being able to retaliate. With fewer players, it's easier to focus on getting in good attacks and dealing damage, knowing that the other player just will have less time to deal with you because you don't have to deal damage to another player now. You don't have to really spread it out. Aggressive play is a far more valid strategy, which I think there's a lot of players, including myself, that uh, we like to attack. We like to be engaged in the game. We want to swing, and it allows for decks that you really want to play that, like, maybe you've been on the fence of because sweepers and things in general. uh, you kind of get going and you get blown out. Well, there's less chance of you getting blown out because there's one less player to do that. And because of the format of it, everyone kind of has to shift to that play style because, as I said earlier, if anyone plays a slower game plan with maybe wraths and stuff, they might find themselves out of the game so fast that they don't have time to retaliate. Thank you, buddy. Another huge dynamic in 3-player games is the effectiveness of removal. It feels better, doesn't it? Yeah. It feels better to cast a removal spell in a 3-player game. Typically because the player that you're going to... You got it, dude. The player that you're going to target is the one that's in control of the board. The player that you're not targeting likely doesn't pose as much of a threat, and you might even need that player. So when you target the player that's the problem and get rid of some of their valuable resources, you can 2-on-1 that player all of a sudden and knock them down to a level that you can deal with now. Where in a 4-player game, getting rid of a permanent from like a problem player, all you did was lose a card, have them lose a card, and the other 2 players gain everything and lose nothing. But in a 3-player game, while it's true that that third player got away with doing nothing, they probably needed to, and most of the time I find that I need that player. I need that player in the game to help me deal with the problem. Um, Another thing to note in a 3-player game, we talked about it already, is that life total. And just to make it clear, you're only dealing with 80 life now. That's not a lot of that's not that bad. It's much better than dealing with 120 life. It makes like decisions so much easier, and like maybe you should just knock someone out of the game early. Maybe spreading the love between the two is good because now you can whittle them, whittle them, whittle them, whittle them, and then knock them out in one swift blow. I know. And so with 3 players, you get a faster game, you get more focused decisions, and a greater emphasis on aggressive play. The dynamics of the game make it easier to decide who's the real threat, and the smaller player count keeps you more engaged. But the lack of hiding space and the viability of faster, more aggressive decks makes the entire experience feel more immediate, dynamic, and strategic. Until next time, give it a try and come back for more Commander content. Thank you.